Long before anyone gave the valley a name, life had already taken root there. Morning mist descended slowly from the mountain slopes. Dew clung to the tips of leaves in the ancient forest. Hornbills crossed above the canopy, while the distant calls of gibbons echoed through the trees. Beneath the towering trees, ancient roots had embraced the earth for hundreds of years, holding the rainwater so it would not disappear immediately into the river. It was behind this forest that a spring emerged without a sound. Not large, nor magnificent. Clear water slowly seeped through moss-covered rocks, then flowed into a small stream. The stream wound its way around tree roots, passing clusters of ferns, wild bamboo, forest flowers, and perpetually damp soil before eventually joining the Wening River. No one in the village ever said that the spring was magical. They simply understood one simple thing. As long as the forest remained alive, the spring would never stop breathing. That was why life in the village grew in rhythm with nature. As the sun began to warm the valley, the women walked toward the river carrying clay jars. Children helped collect water while chasing dragonflies, flying above the wet grass. The men had already set out for the rice fields, following bamboo irrigation channels that carried water down from the mountain spring. At the riverbank, the weavers washed threads, made from natural fibers before, laying them out to dry beneath the morning light. Not far away, boat builders selected tree trunks that had fallen naturally. For tradition forbade. Cutting down great trees that still served as homes for birds and forest creatures. In the forest, deer came in turn, joined by barking deer, wild boars, porcupines, and countless birds seeking water. Before long, troops of monkeys descended in search of wild fruit, while butterflies gathered across the damp earth surrounding the spring. There were no fences, no boundaries. Everyone simply knew their own turn. Season after season passed. When the rains came heavily, the roots of the trees held the soil in place. Keeping it from being washed away. Rainwater slowly seeped into the earth, stored like a memory that was never discarded. When the dry season arrived, that stored water emerged once again as a spring that remained crystal clear, even as other rivers began to shrink. The elders would always tell the children, "It is not the spring that gives you water. It is the forest that willingly stores the rain." That was why every baby born in the village carried a single obligation, passed down from generation to generation. The family had to plant one tree on the forested slope, not as an offering, nor as part of a grand ceremony, but as a reminder that every new life must give something back to the life that had protected it long before. Decades later, those trees had grown to become part of the forest. Their roots strengthened the soil. Birds built nests among their branches. Bees gathered nectar from their flowers. Their fallen leaves became humus, enriching the earth. Rainwater was once again stored deep within the soil. No one could point to a single tree and say which one protected the spring, because, in truth, it was the entire forest that protected it together. And so, life in the valley was never built upon a sense of ownership, but upon a sense of shared responsibility. They did not say, "This is our spring." They said, "We are the ones sustained by this spring." And whenever the sun sank behind the mountains, orange light reflected across the surface of the Wening River as it flowed peacefully toward the sea. The same water had passed through tree roots, forests, rice fields, villages, boats, fish, birds, and children, before finally leaving the valley without ever asking for anything in return. In Wening Tirta, people believed that life was never born from water alone. It was born from the forest that guarded the rain, from roots that embraced the soil, from rivers that connected every village, from people who understood boundaries, and from nature that never ceased to care for itself as a whole. Because the true spring of life is not the place where water emerges. It is the place where all life learns to live together. Dawn once again touched the valley. The mist that had filled the forest through, the night slowly lifted beneath. The warmth of the sunlight. Birds emerged from their nests one by one. The sounds of nocturnal insects faded, replaced by morning songs that filled the trees. There were no signals, no leader giving orders. Yet the entire valley moved as though every living thing already understood its own time. On the mountain slopes, droplets of dew fell from leaf to leaf before eventually soaking into the earth. Beneath the ground, water slowly seeped through layers of rock, roots, sand, and soil that the forest had protected for countless seasons. This journey was invisible to human eyes, yet all life depended upon it. Before long, the spring began to flow a little more strongly. The water wound around small stones, creating ripples so gentle that a dragonfly could land upon surface without disturbing it. A frog emerged from between the moss, while tiny freshwater shrimp hid among the pebbles, illuminated by the morning light. At the edge of the forest, a doe arrived with her fawn. They drank without haste, then disappeared among the trees when a herd of wild boars began to approach. There was no struggle, Every creature understood that the spring was a place to share, not a place to possess. Not far from there, the Wening River began to come alive. Small wooden boats were slowly pushed away from the riverbank. The river fishermen did not seek to catch as much as possible. They took only enough fish to meet the needs of the day. The smaller fish that had not yet grown large enough were released back into the water. To them, the river was not a storehouse to be emptied. The river was a neighbor that had to remain capable of feeding the generations to come. In the rice fields, farmers opened the small gates along the bamboo irrigation channels. Water flowed slowly into each paddy plot, without flooding one field or leaving another dry. No one rushed to take the water first, because they believed that water shared fairly would always find its way. Beneath an ancient banyan tree, the women began to weave. Their fingers moved according to patterns passed down from mother to daughter, from grandmother to granddaughter. The motifs they created were more than mere decoration. Each line resembled the flow of a river. Each curve evoked the roots of a tree, and each knot symbolized the bonds between human beings. Meanwhile, children played along the riverbank. They made tiny boats from leaves, racing to see whose boat would be carried the farthest by the current. Without realizing it, their game was teaching them that every current has a destination, and not every journey must move against the current to have meaning. As midday approached, the aroma of firewood began to fill the village. People ate together, exchanging produce from their gardens. Fish, forest fruits, honey, and root crops. Not every family had the same harvest, but no table was ever truly empty. In that valley, abundance was not measured by how much a person possessed, but by how few people were left without enough. In the late afternoon, the wind carried tree seeds across the river. Birds transported seeds to distant places. Squirrels buried fruits they would later forget to retrieve. Old leaves fell and became humus. Fungi decomposed fallen tree trunks. Termites built tunnels beneath the soil, helping air and water penetrate deeper into the earth. None of them felt that they were doing anything extraordinary. Yet it was precisely through these small, unnoticed acts that the forest remained alive. And as the sun began to set, golden light shimmered across the surface of the Wening River. The elders watched the flowing water in silence. One of them spoke softly to the children sitting beside him. Remember, balance never asks to be praised. It only asks that every living thing remain true to its part. The children did not yet fully understand those words. But one day, when the seasons changed and the valley faced its trials, they would understand that the strongest life was not the one capable of surviving alone. It was a life capable of protecting the lives of others.